Learn how jQuery simplifies selecting DOM elements by ID compared to native JavaScript. In this lesson, we want to look at how jQuery simplifies selecting DOM elements by ID compared to how it is done in native JavaScript. And we want to use that to understand why native JavaScript is often preferred today. Looking at my boilerplate code, I have added a link to a jQuery library. What I'm basically saying is this. So you can just search for this online and do something like jQuery. And once you search, you should be able to click on jQuery CDN. So if you click on this, I think you should be able to see. Okay, let's go to the home page. Okay, we are on the home page. So if you click on minify, let's see. Yes, see. So you can copy it and then use it in your code. You can see what I have here is almost the same thing like what you have here. So that's how I came about what you can see on my screen. So you can see googleapis.com like reach jQuery 3.7.1. So that's the version of the one I'm using here. And I want to use it to show how it simplifies ID compared to native JavaScript. So let's look at the example for this particular lesson. So before we move into our script tag, let's add a couple of things inside our HTML section. So let's make a paragraph tag and give it an ID of maybe, let's say something like ID 01. And let's put a simple text there. Hello. Let's make another one. Give it an ID of 02 and call this hello Lagos. Another one, give it an ID of 03. So hello Kenya. So now we have these three paragraphs with a unique ID for each of the paragraphs, ID 01, ID 02, and ID 03. So now let's move into our script tag. And this is where we are going to be adding the jQuery code. Now, the way you add jQuery in JavaScript is different from the native JavaScript. So you start by adding a dollar keyword, then a bracket, which will select your document to let you know that, okay, you are ready, your document is available for manipulation, then ready, and then you pass in a function. And inside this function, you can make a variable. In our case, let's make a variable. Let's call it let my elements to be equals to what? You wrap your ID in double quotes. ID 01 is what I want to target now. ID 01. So now that I've done that, then I can move ahead and target where I want to display this. And that is going to be demo.text. That is, inside this particular element with this ID, I want to append a text. And what is that text? Well, the text from the ID 01 elements, or since it's paragraph is, let's add a space. Now you call your variable my elements dot my elements at an index position of 0 dot inner HTML. Then we close it. Now let's look at what we just explained, what we just have clearly. Now if you look at the output, you can see we are selecting this demo ID, which is for this paragraph, and adding a text property. And we are now saying right inside this particular uh, element with this ID, with this text content, and this is the text content. So the text from the ID one paragraph, which actually is hello world, plus my element at an index position of 0. So if you look at this, you will see this is going to be index position of 0, 1, 2, 3 dot inner dot html. So we are basically saying replace the content of this p tag that has this ID with what is contained inside this text, as well as what is contained inside the first element, which is at the index of 0. And that element at the index of 0 is our ID of 0, 1, which has the text of hello world. So I'm basically appending hello world alongside with this text to replace everything I have inside this first paragraph. And now you can see that on the screen, the text from the ID 01 paragraph is hello world. Now, let's take a look at how this will work in a normal JavaScript, a native JavaScript. So let me take this out, or let me just comment it out. And let me remove this as well. Let's now look at this example in a native JavaScript to see the difference and why the native JavaScript is preferred to that method. So in native JavaScript, you just make a variable, my element, and say document.get elements by ID. So I've just gotten the ID of one of these one, ID 01. Now that I've done that, well, just let me use document.get element by ID of demo, and then I will write to that particular tag that I want to replace its content is equal to my element.html. This is just going to show hello world. That is, it will replace the content, and you can see that this is shorter and it will work. But in this example, that exactly is not just what I want to do. So I don't want to use inner.html. Instead, I want to use something called text content. Inside this text content, then I can add my text. I'll say the text from the same text, ID 01 paragraph, is then add space plus my element dot inner html. And that means something is weird there. Okay. The way I break it is causing the problem. So let me put everything on the same line so that there won't be this issue. And boom, you should see the text from the ID01 paragraph is hello. Now, if you look at the two, the first example in jQuery and second one in vanilla JavaScript, you will see that this is more cleaner, easier to reach, and it's not that cumbersome or stressful like the way you have to go through in jQuery. And that is one of the reasons why vanilla JavaScript or native JavaScript is preferred to jQuery in modern web development. So here are a few key takeaways from this lesson. The dollar symbol is simply a shorthand name for the jQuery function. So we are actually basically calling a jQuery by wrapping it with the dollar with that dollar symbol. So writing that dollar bracket and whatever ID you want to select is identical to writing jQuery as a text string itself. Number two is that jQuery uses standard CSS styling selector hash for ID for classes to search for your HTML documents, making it highly intuitive for web designers. And finally, while jQuery was an essential tool for over a decade, native standard updates like document.get element by ID and document.query selector have made native JavaScript highly efficient for